Today marks the end of what is indeed a very successful two-day 9th ACP, Africa, Caribbean, Pacific Heads of State and Government Summit here in Nairobi. This year's summit was preceded by the 110th Council of Ministers meeting. We also, as Patrick has just mentioned, held the first ever Women and Youth Forum, as well as the first ACP Business Summit as well. And I've agreed that these will become part and parcel of all future meetings. The summit was well attended. We had a record number of 19 heads of state and government, as well as representatives from 70 of the 79 member states from across the 6 ACP regions. In addition to member states, the summit was also attended by a number of international organizations and partners, amongst them the European Union, the European Investment Bank, the African Union, the United Nations agencies, regional economic communities from Africa, the Caribbean, as well as the Pacific. As you will all know, the summit was held under the theme of a transformed ACP committed to multilateralism. The theme anchored 3 sub-themes focusing on good governance, peace and security, climate change, and ocean governance, as well as intra-ACP cooperation. The theme and sub-themes were chosen carefully by the Secretariat and the Council of Ministers, based on the current global realities where the multilateral system is seriously being challenged. For the deliberations and interactions over the last 2 days, the leaders pronounced themselves on the kind of transformation and commitments that our group must undertake for us to stand out amongst the community of nations. Our collective resolve is to shape an ACP group that is responsive to the new as well as the emerging global challenges that we face as a group. Indeed, as part of the resolutions of the summit, all leaders unanimously agreed on the need to upscale our efforts in enhancing global governance, intra-ACP cooperation, South-South as well as triangular cooperation, promoting global peace and security, while at the same time deepening trade and investment across these 3 regions. Our summit also reaffirmed the centrality of the United Nations in the preservation and maintenance of global peace and security, and commended all our chief negotiators on the progress that they've made so far in concluding the negotiations on the post-Cotonou agreement with our principal partners, who are the European Union. The negotiations, we hope, will be concluded in the next few months, and as we have said, we are working closely to ensure that these negotiations are completed and concluded on the basis of shared prosperity and sustainable development for all concerned. Our summit also committed itself, as well as all member states, to working closely with existing alliances to mainstream the protection of the environment and the fight against climate change, and building resilience into all the policies and programs tackling climate change, as well as addressing issues related to transnational crimes, such as cybercrime, corruption, money laundering, illicit trafficking, radicalization and violent extremism, financing of terrorism, as well as maritime security. Our summit also acknowledged the critical role played by the business community in national development. And as I stated earlier, the first ever ACP Business Summit made it possible to have a candid talk, as well as frank discussions at the presidential level with captains of industry across the ACP regions on how to support the private sector to compete in the global markets and to meet the challenges of the 21st century. Again, in this regard, the leader is committed to continue their efforts to promote the rights of ACP members to access special and preferential treatment as part of the global provisions of a rule-based multilateral trading system and in line with the safeguards of the World Trade Organization. Still on the private sector, the summit committed to prioritize a number of things. Industrial transformation, including giving preference to the blue and green economies, accelerating entrepreneurial strategies,